Hi there, welcome to another episode of Pod Hour. It's been a really long time, but I figured it's a good opportunity to make a new episode with the Switch 2 just being announced and the Direct that dropped on April 2nd. I think it's a really good time to share my thoughts on it, go through the trailer with you, just talk about my thoughts given the whole tariff situation, the price of the Switch, the price of the games, all of that good stuff. I figured we might as well just go through it together. So, very similar to how I went through the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door reveal trailer. We're going to go through the Direct in a very similar fashion, but I'm not going to talk about every single part of the Direct. I'm going to kind of glaze over some of the parts that don't really spark my interest or I don't feel are worth discussing at length. But I'm going to try to talk about as much as I can regarding the Switch 2. So if you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify or wherever you watch a video podcast, you'll be able to follow along. If not, if you're listening on any of the other platforms where podcasts are available, I will talk over what is being shown on screen so you do not feel like you are left out. Cool. The Direct starts now. So through the Direct, it shows this cool new intro. First thing they do is they show off a lot of stuff of the new Mario Kart game. They reveal the title of Mario Kart World. I think this looks really fun. I like that the gameplay seems to be changing quite a bit. I really like that they're going kind of crazy with all the new characters, very similar to how they did with Mario Kart Tour on mobile. I'm very into that. I like the idea of, you can drive through the entire map and all that. I've heard some concerning things about Grand Prix and the way that you travel between track to track and how the laps function in between tracks. Not super into that personally, but I don't know that for sure, so I won't get too far into that. I'll focus on what's being shown in the Direct. The cow from Moo Moo Meadows being a driver, outstanding, right? We all know that's outstanding. That is an easy one. Hammer Bro seems to have a special item, very similar, again, to Mario Kart Tour, where characters have their own unique items. Hammer Bro was throwing out hammers. That's cool. I'm into that. The idea of eating food as you drive by and changing costumes on the fly, that's also really cool, right? Especially if you're going with like a world concept where you're driving to a bunch of different places that definitely have different cuisine. Things can change up quite a bit. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot. So they open up with Mario Kart World. Very good idea to open up with something really strong. It's a launch title, which I don't know if Mario Kart's ever been a launch title. That's really cool. I'm very into that. For some reason my captions are in French. That's new. Can I fix that? Let's see. Settings. I do not want my captions to be in French. Why? Okay. Sorry. English is auto-generated, but French is put in properly. That doesn't make any sense to me. Whatever. Anyway. So then we have the director and the tech engineer and a bunch of people very important to the Switch 2's development talking about the Switch. We get confirmation that there's going to be a Mario Kart World Direct on April 17th. By the time you hear this, that might have already passed. There will be more information on it. But I do like that they're giving Mario Kart its own Direct. I think that's pretty cool. Moving along, they go through what the C button does on the Switch. Now, if you do not have Switch Online after the free trial period that goes to March of 2026, if I'm not mistaken, that button I'm pretty sure it becomes useless, which kind of sucks. Game chat, I don't know. Truth be told, I don't remember if you can still join parties or talk to people on PlayStation or Xbox without like a gold membership or PlayStation Plus. It could be, it could not be. I really don't remember off the top of my head. But the idea of limiting it to people who you're going to be playing online anyway, I kind of see why it would go together. But at the same time, it doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. I don't know. This is a little... I like it because I pay for online. So it'll be helpful in certain situations. Just completely getting rid of the need for Discord as an external thing makes things really easy. Microsoft and Sony have already put in Discord support onto the consoles, so they've kind of beaten this already, but the idea of like a native to Switch version of Game Chat or Discord to an extent, just really Discord voice chat, I'm into that. That's pretty cool. I like the idea that I like the fact that they have mute as an option too, like your voice is prioritized. I don't know how they go about doing that, but whatever. I'm into this concept. I'm into this in theory. I'd like to see it in practice. I'd like to hear the quality of the voices that, because my Switch is kind of all the way over there. I don't my voice is probably not going to go in very clear to where my Switch stands. A lot of people have pointed out that Nintendo was being very honest about the very low frame rate in game chat, and I think that's really funny. I don't know if it's actually going to be that bad, but at least they're like, yeah, it might be that bad. And truth be told, you should be looking at your own screen anyway, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But the idea of being able to play with your friends and watch your other friends' screens as you play your own game, it feels a lot like Discord. It feels a lot like Xbox 360 party chat, which super into. I do also like that you can watch other people's games as well, being able to pull your friend's screen up and watch a big screen. I like this. I'm just excited to get to use it myself and see what it's like. Moving along, the Switch 2 camera. I'm not super crazy about a camera attached to my Switch. That doesn't feel like something that was needed. It looks like some of the games are going to utilize it, which kind of feels like the Xbox 360 Connect, which nobody wanted. I mean, not that nobody wanted, it was just kind of a failure, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. But, I don't know, it's new, it's different. I'm not particularly crazy about the camera. The games that are going to be played by the camera are not something I'm probably going to play very often anyway. It would be good if maybe I had children, or if I had like a bunch of friends over, maybe it'd be kind of funny. But no, I personally do not think I'm going to get the camera. With Game Chat, though, moving on to the next thing they show Game Share, which I think is really cool. Being able to share games with your friends just so you can play for the time being there. Fantastic. That's really, really cool. And they also, like, in the last not Switch 2 Direct, they introduced virtual game cards where you could send your friend a game that you bought digitally for them to hold. I think it was like for up to 2 weeks and then it goes back to you. That's cool too. I like the idea of this being able to share even if you don't have a physical version of the game. I am not crazy about the step away from physical media. I'm not super into that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later when we look at pricing and whatnot. But I think we should all be very cautious because if something goes wrong, we will lose access to all of our digital games. I talked about this a little bit. I talked about this a lot of bit in a different Pod Hour episode, which you should go and listen to. I think every point in that still stands. Now we're into the part of the Direct where they're showing off how the Switch 2 is upgraded compared to the Switch 1, right? The 1080p screen versus the 720 from a base Switch, up to 120 frames per second. Again, this is a much more powerful Switch in comparison. A lot of people were like, oh, well, shouldn't have Nintendo gone more innovative and done something different? No. The Switch's, like, winning factor is the fact that it is a mobile home console hybrid. That is still a winner. It's still winning. You shouldn't give up on that concept just yet. What you should do is capitalize on the fact that people like it so much and create something stronger, which is exactly what they did. They took the things that were not top tier about the Switch, low quality games or lower quality games compared to modern games. They fixed the SL and SR buttons. They made it magnetic instead of with that little button that can get very worn down very quickly for how the Joy-Cons attach to the Switch itself. They improved on the things that went wrong and improved on the things that were good as well. The games themselves, it's the quality. Super, super quality. Right? That's not the issue. The issue with the Switch is that the games aren't as impressive visually or graphically. Those don't matter to me as much, but I do understand that you should strengthen the console. We're in 2025. We have, like, 8K is on the horizon if it's not already here. So, a more powerful Switch. I wanted a more powerful Switch that was home console only. Nintendo gave us that with a dock that has 4K output and also improved handheld pretty significantly, which I think is really good. I think they did everything they were supposed to do for what a Switch 2 should look like. I don't think we needed a new console. The Switch still works. It's a winning concept. Improve upon it. If they go Switch 3, then I'll be like, yeah, okay, we're getting a little lost here. Switch 2, I don't know how long it's going to last. Hopefully for a while. But I think it's a good upgrade to the Switch that we know. Right now on the video, they're showing the two USB-C ports. Again, another really solid upgrade. Being able to mount, like, play tabletop and still charge your Switch by plugging in a USB-C into the top of it. Great idea. That's a winning. Like, that is such an easy idea. I'm surprised no one thought of it sooner. Like, or someone at Nintendo thought it. That should have been on the OLED, if we're being completely honest. Right now, they're showing the storage capacity. 256 gigs, obviously. Pretty big, all things considered. A lot of friends have made the point that games are also getting bigger as well. They are. Nintendo does a very good job at compression. I think the file sizes for some of the games leaked, and they're at 25 gigs for Mario Kart World, 24 and change, so let's assume round up 25. 10 Mario Kart Worlds, that's pretty good, right? Let's be super honest with ourselves. That's pretty good. Right now, they're showing the 4K support on the dock thing. Confirming what I said, 4K output on dock. You can customize it to what you want the output to be. Very into that as well. Going back to what I was just talking about, which I don't remember because they just showed a fan to make sure that the dock stays cool. Again, something that was needed because games like Doom Eternal or Doom, even just Doom 2016 or whatever it was, were like, it made the Switch sound like it was about to take off like a jet fighter. Fairly unoptimized, even if they got the cartridge working on a base Switch, which is impressive in and of itself. Whew, okay. So now they're pivoting from the Switch 2 and they're going to the next thing, which is the Astro's Playroom comparison. They made a game that's meant to show off how the console like works and functions. Very similar to how Astro's Playroom did. It's good to see Astro getting in their head. I like that. Keeps competition fresh. I think that's a great idea, personally. I don't like that this game is paid, because I'm sure as hell not going to pay for it. But I'll probably watch somebody else pay for it and play it, just to look at it. Maybe if it's on sale in like 20 years, I'll pick it up. But no, not particularly interested in a free Astro's Playroom, a paid Astro's Playroom equivalent for the Switch. Right now, they're showing off a little bit of the mouse, too. I feel like the mouse is a really weird inclusion. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't understand what it's meant to accomplish, or who it's for. It looks like, I mean, the game that they're showing, kind of cool. But it just feels silly. It feels like they felt like they needed to add something new. And then they did. And it doesn't really look super fleshed out or helpful. I've heard that Metroid Prime 4 plays really well with the mouse as like a movement option or like a camera option, like the right stick equivalent. So maybe it'll be helpful for situations like that where you have to very quickly move around and look around. Nintendo games aren't particularly known for that. But, I don't know. Now they're showing off the cartridges. I want to address this now. It is a false claim that physical Nintendo Switch games are more expensive than digital games. That whole $90 physical, $80 digital, wrong. Somebody forgot how to read and doesn't know what a dollar sign looks like. The cartridges are red. I like the new red cartridge. They hold up to 64 gigabytes. Some games are going to be so large that they will not fit on the 64 gigabyte cartridge, which is why it's concerning that 256 gigabyte base storage is a little small if we're going to go with games that are bigger than 64 gigs. What game is bigger than 64 gigs that's not optimized for the Switch? That's concerning. You should be concerned about that. Those cartridges act like a key to download the game on the cartridge itself instead of using just like going directly from the cartridge. Not super into that. If you're going to do that, you might as well get the game digitally. Why get a physical version of it? That makes no sense to me, but maybe that's just me. I'm going to pause here really quick and go back because they talked about the micro SD express cards. I guess that they made the console so powerful that it needed a better version of the micro SD card. I guess I understand, but at the same time, it's like the express cards are pretty expensive in comparison. And you can't bring over your micro SD from your old Switch, or in my case, Switches. I have 2 Switches. You can't bring those over. You need an express, so I need to buy a whole new thing. And again, going back to how small the base storage might actually end up being for some of the games that I might want to play, a little concerning. The showing the Switch 2 Pro controller, I'm a big fan of the black and white color scheme. I like that a lot. The C button included, there's an audio jack in the bottom of the controller too. Hell yeah, finally, dude. I went out and bought a 5th Xbox controller just because it had a better audio jack in the bottom of it. I'm a big fan of adding an audio jack to your controller. Good job improving the Pro controller there. The back buttons too, the grip buttons, the GL, GR buttons, great. Incredible, no problem. Let's keep moving. Now they introduce the Switch 2 editions of games. They show a lot about Mario Party Jamboree. I'm not really into that. I feel like this game should have waited to be released for the Switch 2. It doesn't make sense to me that they release it and then just a little bit later they're like, hey, here's a paid DLC where you can use the mouse. You can dance with Bowser on a screen. You can punch blocks. Like, with the camera. Like, the reliance on the camera here is a little strange. It's probably not something I am going to buy. While this looks somewhat fun, I'm probably going to play it once and then move on. It feels like they're buying into the way they revealed the initial Switch, where you bring your Switch to a party. My voice cracked there, I apologize. Where you bring your Switch to a party and everybody suddenly gets into it and starts playing, which is, I mean, that maybe that's happened once in my life, but it was also with people who play Switch on their own anyway. The camera addition to the base game, though, that's kind of cool. Like, if you already have the camera and you get to see your little camera next to your character moving around, that's kind of a cool addition. I like that. I don't know if that's behind the paywall, but whatever. Moving on. What is the next thing they talk about here? They talk about they talk about the Switch 2 editions of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, which look really good. I think these are free. There's a couple games that have free upgrades when you play them on Switch 2. Good. Good. You shouldn't have to pay more for games that are like 8 years old at this point, right? Like, it doesn't make sense to me that you would have to pay for an upgrade for a game that's been out of relevance for close to a decade. Breath of the Wild came out when the Switch came out 8 years ago. A free upgrade for that, like, good. It should be expected. That's a good level of fan service there. Tears of the Kingdom might be free, which, another layer of fan service, which I didn't expect, because Tears of the Kingdom is newer. But maybe it's based on the same engine, so they're like, yeah, we might as well make that one free too, if it's already looking better because we did it for Breath of the Wild. I respect that. There are a couple other games that I know have free Switch 2 editions. I think Mario Odyssey is one of them. Someone pointed out that Smash wasn't one of them, which I get. I feel like Sakurai was so busy with Kirby Air Riders, which we're going to talk about later, that it would kind of be hard to go back and optimize it. Or maybe they're working on it. I don't know. Right now they're showing Kirby and the Forgotten Land getting a Switch 2 edition that has like a DLC in the Star-Crossed World. That's pretty cool. I never finished Forgotten Land, so that's something I should probably go do. They're showing a little bit of Metroid Prime 4. Pokemon Legends ZA is getting a Switch 2 edition as well. I hope it's not paid, because we all know that Pokemon games don't look particularly good on Switch. I don't imagine they're going to look much better with the Switch 2 edition. Maybe a little bit smoother, but smoothness is not the issue with Pokemon games on Switch. It is the fact that the trees look like they were ripped from a GameCube game today. Like, they took it from a GameCube game today and put it in the Switch 2. You can make Pokemon look beautiful, and they should start doing that. But whatever. Let's move on. Moving on to the mouse game, Dragon Drive. Objectively speaking, this is a really cool game. I like the idea of wheelchair basketball and, like, representation and inclusivity. I think that's really cool. The game itself looks really fun as well. Not for nothing. The control scheme, I feel like people are going to get very tired of it. There isn't a lot of, like, unless you clear off your desk, right? Or you clear off your coffee table, just to be able to move the mouses, the mouse Joy-Cons. I feel like you're going to get tired very, very quickly, and it's just a little impractical. You don't have a lot of space. There's a lot of clutter in today's society. It doesn't make a ton of sense, in my opinion. I could be dead wrong about this. This game looks super interesting, but I hope there is an alternate control scheme to be able to enjoy it. Because I'd play this. This looks really cool. I'm really not wild about the control scheme. The mouse control scheme to me doesn't make a ton of sense. When I have the Switch 2, I may eat my words on that, but I won't. Right now, it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Cool looking game, though. Moving on. There are a couple of partner things shown here. We have Elden Ring, Street Fighter 6 getting Amiibo, which is really weird to me. Street Fighter 6 getting Amiibo was kind of out of nowhere. I guess they have a good relationship with Capcom to make that happen. Split Fiction coming to Switch, pretty cool. Hitman coming to Switch, Bravely Default. The Yakuza series coming to Switch. That's pretty cool. Yakuza 0 just got taken off of Game Pass, so I might get Yakuza 0 Director's Cut on Switch 2. Because I kind of want to finish that game. They reveal another game here. They reveal another Hyrule Warriors game. I'm not super into the series, but I haven't played it myself, so I guess I shouldn't make a judgment before I actually play it. Doesn't really pique my interest, but it could be really fun. It makes sense. There's like a big war if you played Tears of the Kingdom. Putting yourself in that situation, using some of the characters you've never been able to play as before, fighting a bunch of enemies. There's potential here, and it makes sense. I shouldn't be too harsh on Hyrule Warriors. That's not a fair judgment. But, new Hyrule Warriors game. What else did they talk about? Oh, of course! Nintendo GameCube coming to... it's not Nintendo GameCube Online. It's Nintendo GameCube Nintendo Classics. So they're changing the name from like NES Online, GBA Online, to NES Nintendo Classics, Super Nintendo Nintendo Classics, Game Boy Nintendo Classics. That feels like an unnecessary change. I feel like the online name was kind of cool in the way that it was utilized. But, whatever. That's beyond me. I don't get to make decisions about these kind of things. They show off 3 games. They show off Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, and F-Zero GX. Those are the 3 games that come out. But apparently, according to the demos, Super Mario Strikers was also included in the app where the Switch 2 was being played, like around the country. So maybe Mario Strikers will be relatively soon after launch, if not at launch. Very cool. There's a lot of good GameCube games out there that deserve love, and we'll get that love now, hopefully. I hope they focus more on, like, Nintendo games as opposed to some of the more obscure games that randomly come out, like, years after. Mario Sunshine seems to be included on the list. Speaking of Mario Sunshine, really quick, now with GameCube Online and Sunshine being confirmed for it, the only game missing from the Super Mario 3D All-Stars game collection is Super Mario Galaxy. So that makes me think 2 things. Most likely we're going to get a Wii version of Nintendo Classics, or we're going to get a Mario Galaxy 1-2 HD. Because Nintendo has not been including original versions of their remakes. Mario RPG is not on SNES Online. I doubt Thousand Year Door will be on the GameCube one. Maybe I'm missing a couple off the top of my head. But that is how I feel. The GameCube controller as well looks really good. Very excited to get my hands on it. Love the fact that GameCube is coming to Switch 2, excuse me. Moving on, Deltarune. Right now we're showing Deltarune on the video. The funniest thing Toby could have done was randomly be like, yeah, when the Switch 2 comes out, we're also dropping Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4. Very excited to play it. We just finished, in the time that I'm recording this, we wrapped up Chapter 2 completely. We just finished the Snowgrave route. We are on a little bit of a hiatus, but once Chapter 3 comes out, we are getting back on Deltarune so that we can play Chapter 3, and I'm very, very excited. I'm very excited for Deltarune. The funniest thing to wait for the Switch 2 release. Borderlands 4, excited for it. Civ 7 looks cool. A couple other games I'm not particularly interested in, but it's good. Just like Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Intergrade, Gatorade, Retrograde, I feel like is a good inclusion as well. It's good to see that the Switch 2 is going to be capable of running this game that's meant to be like Super HD and upgraded. So I might pick it up. That's pretty cool. But a lot of these partner games don't particularly interest me. Silksong getting randomly shown in the middle of all the where is Silksong? All the things. There it is. Right? I think I've just missed it. Silksong getting a 2025 release date confirmed in the middle of this third-party partner thing. Really funny. I don't know if the devs did that on purpose or Nintendo was like, no, we'd like it. But whatever. There's a new From Software game that apparently is a Switch exclusive, or a Switch 2 exclusive, which is really cool. From Software is like one of the biggest names in gaming right now with Elden Ring and the Souls games. So, pretty cool. Someone said it's a Bloodborne sequel. I don't know. I never finished Bloodborne, so I don't know. But objectively speaking, very cool to see Nintendo get an exclusive from Software. The game itself looks interesting. I think you play a vampire. I don't know. Never played or never finished a Souls game, so I don't have a ton of stake in this. So judge me freely for that one. Moving on. The next thing they do is they reveal Kirby Air Riders, which I thought was going to be a Smash game because it looked like the Kirby Smash model. But then you see the back of the Warp Star gets like an engine. And it's really cool to see Kirby Air Ride get some love. Sakurai is a YouTuber now, or finished up his YouTube channel. But he said he was working on a project because someone came to him with a proposal that he really liked. And now we know that project was Kirby Air Riders. That's really cool. It's good to see Sakurai get to work on Kirby again. And I know he's going to do a good job because he did a good job with Kirby Air Ride on GameCube. I'm very excited to see how they will make Kirby Air Ride on a modern platform. I'm excited for this one. I'm really excited for Kirby Air Riders. Moving on. Oh, Donkey Kong Bonanza. How can I forget about Donkey Kong Bonanza? This game looks incredible. It's made by the same people who made Super Mario Odyssey, so by default it's going to be really good. Donkey Kong, the first kind of whatever. The new model, I'm getting more and more used to it. I'm kind of into it now. But it took me a while to get there. I will be honest. The game looks cool. The idea that you can destroy the terrain around you to just find things that are buried, or to utilize like big rocks that you pull from the ground and stuff like that. Really, really, really cool. This game is going to be really, really good. I'm very excited to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. That pretty much rounds out the Switch 2. But the last thing they do is they show the release date, which we're going to talk about given the fact that pre-orders just got pushed back. So, the Switch 2 is supposed to come out on June 5th. They said that that's not going to be compromised, even with the pre-orders getting pushed back. My concern is that the price is going to change. The Switch 2 right now was going to be $450 USD. If you include Mario Kart World, there's a limited time bundle. It's $500. You save $30 on the game. Pretty good deal. This whole tariff situation that's going on with the current presidential administration makes me concerned the price is going to go up. We'll have to see what happens. I am deeply disappointed, but I will not comment on politics. It sucks being a Nintendo fan, seeing them have to change their strategy because of a policy that I don't think makes any sense. That's just how it is. I don't like that had to happen. It's stupid in my opinion. But that is all I will say about that. When the pre-orders do come out, I'm going to hopefully get one. I would very much like to get a Switch 2 on launch day. It'd be a very fun summer to get a Switch 2. Very excited for Mario Kart World. If you haven't already, Nintendo is giving you a chance where if you've played for more than 50 hours in the last year, and you have a standing Switch Online membership for more than a year, you can get an email to pre-order the Switch 2 directly from the Nintendo store, which you should go and do and sign up for. Just in case, because with the way scalpers are and the market and people's need for money while doing minimum effort, while screwing over actual genuine fans. If you want the Switch 2, you're going to have to put a bit more effort into it than you would probably like to do. I no longer live near the Nintendo store in Rockefeller Center, so I can't just go on launch day and wait in line, because they're definitely going to have like a billion consoles in stock. But I'm excited for the Switch 2. With that being said, I believe that's going to wrap up this episode of Pod Hour. Those are my overall thoughts. I'm very excited. Those are my thoughts on the Switch 2 Direct and the things that are coming out of it and the games and whatnot. Thank you for listening to me say words. Let me know what you think. And if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know in the comments. Join the Discord. Let's have a discussion about the Switch 2, what you're excited for, what you're not excited for, games you'd like to see. Giving you a little bit of bonus stuff here. Things I'd like to see a new 3D Mario. I'd like to see maybe a new Animal Crossing. It's been a little while, but maybe some love for Animal Crossing New Horizons. Something a little bit fresh. Really upgrading Nook Store would be fantastic. It's a whole new console. I know we're kind of looking at this as like an extension of the Switch, but it is a new console, so we should be looking at it as what should get a new entry. Splatoon got 2 entries on the Switch. I think we can wait a little bit on Splatoon, personally. A visual upgrade will keep it fresh for a little bit longer. I don't know. Think about games that should get a sequel, too. How about a Mario Sunshine sequel? How about Super Mario Galaxy 3? Why not go crazy? You have a very... This is the most powerful console Nintendo has put out. Imagine how good a new Super Mario Galaxy game would look in 4K. That alone should excite you. We're in a new, uncharted area of what Nintendo, with knowing how beautiful games are on Switch already, with its limitations, a more powerful Switch should be it is a very, very exciting concept. I think they should have made the Joy-Cons a little bit more colorful. The subtlety is nice to an extent, but the vibrancy of the Switch was a big selling point. I'm excited to see more Joy-Con colors. I'm excited to see what themed bundles will come out as well. And I think that's all I have to say. So thank you for tuning in and listening to me say stuff. Please consider subscribing, following, checking out more of the Pod Hour episodes, checking out the live streams, the daily series that is down right now but will be live again soon. I do a bunch of stuff. So thank you for tuning in. I hope that you've had enough time to sit and think about the Switch 2. I hope that I gave you enough time before I started sharing my thoughts on it. Once a little bit of the discussion has died down a little bit, so I can be a little bit more critical. Or not really critical, but it's very important to take new information in and sit with it and then discuss. Because if you talk about it initially, your emotions and your judgment will cloud your actual thoughts. If I had recorded this the day of the Direct, I would have been losing my mind over just the GameCube and Kirby Air Riders. But now that because I gave myself time to think about it, I feel like I have much more rounded out thoughts, reasonable concerns, and reasonable excitement. But that's all from me. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully see you in a future live stream soon. Take care, be good, and I will see you around. Maybe when we play Mario Kart World together. Wouldn't that be fun? Peace.